Here we have a video that is long overdue. I should have recorded this one like 3 months ago. I think like June perhaps. Because I got these knives, the Viper Katlas. Actually I have 3 of them. But I got them at the very same time as I got my two fixed blades from Viper, the Beerus 1 and the Beerus 2. So my original thought was, let's focus first on the fixed blades, which were really good, impeccable fit and finish, great ergos, and especially great performance. So I did that video, and like I said, my original thought was to focus on the folders next, but things doesn't always really go the way you have planned, but better late than never. So I do have one Viper Katla in its original box, and then I have 2 here in this black generic folder pouch of sorts. I could have done 3 unboxings, but I think that is a little bit excessive. So let's start just by taking a look at what you get when you buy a Viper Katla. So this version is the, let's see, the satin version with marble carbon fiber and 3D. So this is going to be a little bit special. So let's open this one up, shall we? Yeah, it's pretty straightforward packaging, I would say. Just some plastic wrapping here, and then you have the knife and some paperwork here in this little plastic bag. As you can see, there are no stickers and there's no pouch or anything coming with it. It's pretty pretty straightforward, I would say. So what we have here is, of course, the actual folder and some paperwork. Let's see if there's anything of interest for us here. A lot of text in Italian, which is going to be difficult for me to read, but we also have an English version here that says, "Congratulations on owning a Viper knife. This knife is recognized by the Maniago quality system, which represents a warrant of its origin, manufacturing process and safety. Carefully read the following guidelines for your safety to optimize the use and to preserve your knife." Absolutely. So Maniago is a place that I'm pretty familiar with. I have a lot of Italian folders by now, all of them made in Maniago. Most of the knives, if not all of them, has had really great fit and finish. They have all been very sharp and just overall solid products. And this one seems to be no exception to that. So what we have here is indeed the marble carbon fiber. I will say that this is perhaps not the absolute finest marble carbon fiber I've ever seen, but definitely not the worst either. There will always be some variety to carbon fiber scales, especially marble carbon fiber. We also have this milling of sorts. I'm not sure how well it can be seen, but there is some milling here in the carbon fiber. Some people will probably think that it looks not so good. Others will say that that's a nice detail to it. Me myself, well, I'm not 100% sure what I think about the 3D effect here. I kind of like it plain. I have one of those versions as well here. I do have 3 different types of Viper Katlas here in this video. But I will say that it feels good. There are no voids, no cracks nor nothing. It is pretty solid looking, absolutely. So let's take a look here at the blade design. As you can see, this is a satin blade, much like the way it was specified there on the box. We can actually, let's go over the specs here on this one, and then we can take a look at the other 2. So what we have here is a blade steel of M390. Should be specified right there, right? M390. You also see this here, which is the design mark of Jesper Vox knives. I am a big fan of Jesper's designs, both in terms of fixed blades and perhaps especially folders. I have yet to make a video of my favorite folder design from Jesper Vox, but it is the Fox Suro, yeah, that's the one. But this video is all about Viper knives and Viper Katla in particular. We have a HRC or hardware roughness here of 59 to 61. And like I stated, the blade finish here is of course satin. Looking at the numbers here, we have a total length of 198 millimeters. It's almost 20 centimeters in overall length. We have a blade length of I believe 82 millimeters and a close length of 116 millimeters. So I guess you could say that this knife is, you know, somewhere a medium-sized knife, not, you know, super small, but definitely not, you know, super large either. Somewhere in between, at least if I, you know, look at what I currently own in my own folder lineup. The blade thickness here is 4 millimeters, but as you can see, there is a really nice swedge going on here. So the actual full thickness is only, you know, this part, like perhaps 30% of the actual length here, total length of the blade. About 4 millimeters. So that does make for a pretty, you know, stout knife or knife blade. It's also got a rounded spine here, and we also have some pretty fine jimping going on. But the jimping is, you know, not overly aggressive, but definitely not too smooth. It's actually a functional jimping, which I find to be, you know, quite nice and useful. The opening, or let's see, the opening here, you can open the knife using the flipper tab. But you also have some thumb studs, so you have the option between using the flipper or using the thumb stud. They both work, you know, equally well. I do prefer flippers, generally speaking, so that is probably what I'm gonna go with the most when using and carrying this knife. But the thumb studs work, you know, just as well. So whatever you find to be the best for you, you can go with that pretty easy. The locking mechanism here is a liner lock. Liner locks are perhaps not my favorite. I do kind of prefer frame locks overall, but I will say that, you know, ergonomically speaking, liner locks tend to be perhaps slightly more ergonomical. And I mean, I haven't had any issues with liner locks, you know, giving up or being weakened or anything, so I can't really, you know, criticize them for going with a liner lock. It's just, you know, for your information. And I will say that this liner lock here is, not sure how well it was visible here, but there is some jimping going on here. Let's see if we can actually get it in. Yeah, there we can actually see it, which gives you a bit of a extra grip here when you reach for it and want to disengage it. In terms of blade centering, let's see. The blade is pretty centered. It's actually not 100% centered. It's probably 90% centered. Not a super big deal for me. We can check the others and see how well centered they are. Most people wouldn't probably notice that this one isn't, you know, 100% centered, but I do notice it, and that is why I say it, because I want my reviews to be, you know, accurate. Let's see, we have a finger groove here. Always a risky thing in designs, because, you know, you never know 100% sure how well the finger groove will work with your hand. I wear size 10 in gloves. I have fairly large hands. Placing this knife in my hand like this shows, you know, that I get a full forefinger grip. Still a bit of space down here. No real hot spots or anything, but it is a bit. I can actually feel, you know, the jimping here from the liner lock a bit. You see how it goes out a bit there, and not, you know, a big deal, but just, you know, just calling it out here. It will probably never be an issue of any sorts, but, you know, some people might feel it in some way. I wouldn't say that you feel it that much now that I, you know, think about it. But I will say that this part here is probably this part that is, you know, it is actually semi-thin. This scales part here could perhaps be something that some people will notice in some way. To me, it's not an issue at all. So it just works. We also have a choil here. I know that Jasper Voxnäs, he likes to work with choils, and I tend to like them because they are most of the time actually functional choils. They are not there just aesthetically. They are there for a reason. But I will say that this choil is actually a bit on the small side. I can place my finger here, but had it been just a few millimeters longer, if we could have just taken a little bit of the edge here, it would have been perfect for choking up like this. So my fingers, yeah, my fat fingers, right? Yeah, you can't fit it here, but it is on the very edge here. And sure, it's not super sharp here, but still it's, yeah, it could have been slightly larger. Wouldn't have been an issue at all. Would have been quite nice. That is probably my biggest wish here. If I could change anything about this knife, I would have gone with a slightly larger choil area. We have a lanyard hole up here, gold or bronze colored backspacer. It's a nice detail. It goes well together with the black hair of the carbon fiber and the satin touch here. I think I'm gonna put some ballistic oil or something and polish this a bit. I think it will darken a little bit and be even more stylish looking. We also have a pocket clip here. Nothing super fancy, but functional. Got a bit of a semi-good retention to it. In terms of blade play, no blade play, which is very nice. Did I mention the spine was rounded here? Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, but now I do mention it. So the blade design here is a bit tanto-ish, right? Since we do have, let's see how well it can be seen here, but you do see the the grind going up to here, and then there is a bit of a upsweep grind there. So it is a tanto-ish design, but not a full tanto. That I would not say. In terms of weight, I think this one, well, I'm actually not 100% sure, and now that I have different materials, I'm actually gonna put this on my scale here and see how much this is, and then I'm gonna compare it to the other versions. So this one is 124 grams. So it's not a super light knife, but then again, I bet the version in full titanium scales is gonna be quite a bit heavier than this one. In terms of opening and closing, opening the knife, regardless if we use the flipper tab or if we use the thumb stud, the knife opens up really nicely. In terms of closing action, this is new out of the box. I have not broken it in or anything, but it is still, yeah, it does close pretty nicely, but it's not, dropping shut or anything like that. Not yet, at least. In time, it might be more, drop shut-ish. But right now, this is how it is. So, carbon fiber, marble carbon fiber, 3D version, satin blade. I mean, it's a nice looking knife, definitely. Let's take a look at the other two that I have as well, so we can get some variety going. So my favorite version is probably this one. This is also carbon fiber, but you can see here that it is full carbon fiber. It's not marble carbon fiber, and there's no 3D milling or anything. It's just plain carbon fiber. We still have the same golden bronze-like backspacer. Is the pocket clip identical? Yeah, I think that everything is pretty much identical. See, maybe we can see the tanto-ish design even better on this one, perhaps. So let's see the centering on this one. The centering on this one is 100%, that I will say. Let's see if we can do a dual here, but you can see that the centering is just slightly, like, if this one is 100%, this one is 90%. So it's not, not super big margins, but then we know that the centering on this one is flawless. Opening action is flawless. Closing action, this one I have actually put to some use, so this one closes a bit easier, or perhaps the same. I haven't used it, super much, but still more than the one out of the box, brand new. Let's take a look at the last one. Oh, we could. Let's go with the last one. Then we can check the difference in weight. So here we have the full titanium version. No longer any carbon fiber at all here. And this one also has a black coated or black stonewash blade finish. So it's a bit different from the other two versions that we have taken a look at. And I do think that this is probably a bit heavier also than the first two. Looking at the blade centering here, the blade centering on this one is, I would say, like 90% as well, or 95%. Most people will not notice, but since I am sitting here nitpicking, I call it as I see it. So here we have the full titanium, the regular carbon fiber, and the marble carbon fiber with some 3D milling. Let's see the weight difference on these. So I think that we came to the conclusion that this one was 124 grams, right? 124. So the other carbon fiber here is 122. So this one is just slightly lighter. And the full titanium version here is 134. So this one is actually only 10 grams heavier than the marbled carbon fiber version. So it's not, not a very big difference actually. Usually I would say that there's a bit of a bigger difference between carbon fiber and full titanium, but I'm not sure if they have actually done some other type of internal milling here on the titanium version, but it sure doesn't look like there is any milling compared to, or any different milling compared to the other two here. So yeah, I'm not quite sure how they managed to pull that off, but somehow they did pull it off. Anyway, so my general thoughts here is that it is a knife in great materials, titanium and carbon fiber, be it regular carbon fiber or marble carbon fiber. M390 is a great steel. The Italian M390 is supposed to be a bit softer or a bit different than other M390 versions, but I've had zero issues with my knives that are made in Italy with Italian M390, so I can't really criticize it yet, at least. These knives are all sharp, that I know for sure, but just to make it clear here on the video, we can slice some different types of paper. Here we have regular printing paper, which sometimes actually poses the most resistance. But let's do some slicing here to see. This is a great performance by the carbon fiber version, the regular carbon fiber. If we go with the marble carbon fiber here, this is a really good performance. I mean, like, really good. Then we have the stone-washed version here. See if it can keep up with other versions. Yeah, I mean, this is, to me, this is, really good performance. No doubt about it. These knives will will cut paper, and they will do it really, really, really well, I'd say. And this is the, out of the box factory edge. It is a very, very sharp knife. And I've come to expect that by now from all knives that I have that are made in Maniago. The knives will be sharp. Let's see if we can do some additional paper slicing here, perhaps some magazine slicing of sorts. But this is, to me, slicing regular printing paper has become one of the best tests, because it's, for some reason it is the type of paper that if a knife is going to struggle with slicing paper, that is for some reason the hardest paper to cut. But we can go with this magazine paper here. I forgot this paper outside before, so it was a bit damp, but it's probably a little bit dried up now. Let's see if we can go some quick slicing here as well. Like I said, not printing, a regular, magazine paper of sorts. See, you can do those baby patterns, and it just keeps slicing. This one is very, very, very sharp. We can go with the next one as well. Let's go with the marble carbon fiber next. It's like, this is the sharpest knife out of the bunch. I can say that right away. I mean, all the knives are sharp, but this is a freaking razor. I think it's safe for me to say that this is probably in my top 5 or something like that sharpest knives. I can feel the edge being like that, right away. This is dangerous, so sharp. Let's go with this dark stonewash as well now. Are we even visible in the cameras? Oops. Yes, I mean, all the knives are plenty sharp. There is no doubt about it. But I will say that there is a bit of a difference in sharpness between the knives. So I think that, like I said, this marbled carbon fiber version is extremely sharp. Let's put it here. This one is insanely sharp. Probably in my top 5, something like that. This one is also very sharp, and this one is slightly sharper than the stonewash version. So what I can say is that there might be some, varieties in terms of how sharp your knife will be if you get one of these Viper Katlas. But at least, even if you go with a knife with a less sharp edge here, you will still get a knife that is super sharp. So it's just, sharp, sharper, and sharpest. I guess you could, kinda put it like that. Perhaps. I don't have a lot of, leg hair or arm hair, so we can't do a lot of shaving right now. But just take my word for it, all these knives will definitely shave hair, there's no doubt about it. But some will be more hair-popping sharp than others. And now I feel that it's starting to rain, so I should probably, wrap this video up a bit and maybe continue inside. We are now back again after having been abruptly interrupted by some rain. But I really wanted to finish recording this video, since I have postponed it for several weeks and, well, in fact, even months. So let's see if we can try to summarize some thoughts here. I mean, we did go over all the specs, we did go over the materials, both in terms of scales and blade steel, and we took a look at the general design and the ergos, etc. I will say right away that there are more offerings of this knife than what is available here at the table. I brought 3 knives here to show. but there are in fact many more versions or varieties in handle materials. You have like a non-dark wash titanium with a non-dark stone wash. You have a regular carbon fiber 3D version, not only marble carbon fiber. You also have some G10 materials. Yeah, there are some differences in handle materials as well as blade finishes, etc. I do believe all knives come with M390 blades though, and that is a good thing, because M390 is by far my favorite blade steel for folders. I mean, it will keep an edge for a really long time. I mean, the edge retention is pretty much insane of M390. It is also a very corrosion resistant material. It may not be the absolute toughest blade materials, but it's definitely not brittle or weak in any way. So I mean, overall it has all the qualities that I like to see in a folder. So let's see what we should pick up next here. The main question might be, would I recommend this knife? Yes, I would recommend it, and for a few different reasons here. First of all, I think that the general design is a great one. I mean, if you're a fan of Jesper Voxnäs, then you should definitely check this knife out. There is no question about it. But I also like that there's only high-end materials here in terms of titanium and carbon fiber. The regular carbon fiber looks really nice. The marble carbon fiber, well, this specific one might not have the absolute finest marble carbon fiber, but it's not bad in any way. But there are perhaps nicer versions of marble carbon fiber out there. Maybe if I would have gotten another Katla with marble carbon fiber, I would have gotten something even more nice looking. But it is not bad in any way. So I mean, the material picks for this model is really great. I mean, you can't get a better steel, and the materials are just overall really nice for the scales. I also find the overall fit and finish to be really nice. Sure, we did have some two of these knives were not exactly 100% centered. Then again, I mean, most people won't even notice that that the knife is not 100% centered. I mean, I was truly nitpicking when I mentioned that. So I mean, it is a minor thing. We have some great opening and closing action. There was no blade play, no lock stick. I mean, it is just a great looking, functional knife, I would say. And then we have the price as well. I ordered these like a couple of months ago, and I think that they were around $230 perhaps. Perhaps even cheaper if you order from outside of Europe. But $230 for really nice carbon fiber or really nice titanium and M390 blades with this type of grind and everything, I think that is a really great value for the money. So it is actually quite easy to recommend. Also, I mean, the liner lock. I do have liner locks on some of my folders. Most of them are actually frame locks, but I do have a couple of liner locks, and I've had no issues with them. So I mean, if you're not a fan of liner locks, well, then maybe this knife is perhaps not for you, or maybe this is the knife you should try to. I mean, give it an honest try and see what you feel. I also like that they had that you have the option of using both thumb studs and a flipper tab. I mean, that's a nice addition. I mean, you're not limiting the knife in any way. And perhaps, I mean, if you really want, you could probably remove the thumb studs. But I mean, I think it's nice to have the option of using both thumb studs and the flipper tab. I mean, why not? And the Tanto-ish blade design here, I don't find it to limit the knife in any way or usage. I mean, it is pretty much a regular. I feel like it's more of a aesthetical looking Tanto blade than a Tanto design that actually alters the functionality of the knife itself, for better or worse than for some people. But for me, it is a good thing. So overall, I think that this knife is an easy recommendation. Great materials, great craftsmanship, great price, and great ergos as well. Sure, they could have made the choil slightly larger, but I mean, everyone doesn't have, you know, beefy hands and fingers like I do. Then again, some people have beefier hands and fatter fingers than I do. So I mean, it is, yeah, it is what it is. But overall, I really do like this knife. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten 3 of them. This was the first one I got. Then I went with the titanium version, and then I actually got I wanted the regular carbon fiber with the 3D milling, but it was out of stock, so that is why I went with the marble carbon fiber. But I think they have restocked all the knives by now, so you can probably pick whatever version you like. So I think that will probably conclude this review, overview of sorts, whatever you want to call it. So for whatever it's worth, I think this is a really nice knife, simply put. If I could change 1 or 2 things, I would have made the choil slightly larger, and I mean, it would have been nice with a frame lock. I'm not gonna lie, but like I said, I haven't had any issues with the liner locks on any of my knives, and you can see that the lockup here is quite solid. The knife is not going anywhere. I'm not sure if you checked the lockups on the other ones as well, but you can see really solid lockup on this one as well. And once again, really solid lockup. I doubt I will ever have a problem with the liner locks on these ones, unless you really go all out and maybe batoon some wood, etc. That would put a lot of pressure on the liner lock, no doubt. But then maybe you should check out one of my fixed blade videos instead, if batooning is what you intend to do, or you know what you're looking forward to do. Yeah. So I think that's it for now. Might do a follow-up video in some time. You never know. But for now, I do recommend them.